Sad news to report from Capitol Hill. U.S. Congressman John Lewis has died. His death comes months after he started treatment for advanced stage pancreatic cancer. Congressman Lewis served more than 3 decades in office and never stopped fighting for racial equality. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Siri has the story.
Hate is too heavy a burden to bear.
With the death of John Lewis, America has lost one of the most iconic figures of the civil rights movement.
He's as close to being a saint as anybody I've lived with.
On February 21, 1940, Lewis was born into a family of sharecroppers near Troy, Alabama. Growing up in the Jim Crow South, he became acutely aware of racial injustice and found inspiration in the sermons of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Dr. King was his spiritual father.
As a young man, he became chairman of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and organized peaceful protests at segregated lunch counters and bus terminals throughout the South. He was the youngest speaker at the 1963 March on Washington. He helped lead a march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, and suffered a fractured skull when state troopers used force to break up the peaceful demonstration. Televised images of the violent police crackdown galvanized support for the Civil Rights Act of 1965.
The one thing you will is to do the will of God, no matter what the cost. And John Lewis walked into Congress with that same sense of oneness with God.
In 1981, Lewis won a seat on the Atlanta City Council. 5 years later, he was elected to Congress, where he has served Georgia's 5th congressional district for nearly 4 decades. Lewis was a member of the Congressional Black Caucus and served on the Committee on Ways and Means. He continued to champion progressive causes, including women's rights, immigrant rights, and health care reform. Although a member of the Washington establishment, Lewis never lost his activist spirit. In 2016, he led Democrats in a surprise sit-in in the House chamber to call for gun control. And Lewis boycotted inaugurations of both George W. Bush and Donald Trump, prompting a barrage of angry tweets from the latter president, describing the congressman's Georgia district as in horrible shape and falling apart. 2 years later, Lewis joined the chorus of Democratic House members calling for President Trump's impeachment.
I truly believe, the time to begin impeachment proceedings against this president has come.
Yet in the most polarizing of times, Lewis won the respect of colleagues from both sides of the aisle.
He is a fighter in the positive sense of the word.
Despite his lifelong efforts for equal rights, Lewis admitted he never dreamed it possible that America would one day elect a black president.
From his activism in the civil rights movement to his nearly 25 years in the House of Representatives, John R. Lewis.
When President Barack Obama awarded Lewis the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2011, the ceremony took on added significance.
John Lewis is my hero, is my friend, and was a great role model for me, and is a great example to me. And he's been a great leader for the civil rights movement.
Hi, how you doing?
In late 2019, Lewis announced he faced a different kind of battle, a fight for his life against stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He continued to serve in Congress while undergoing treatment, saying there was still plenty of unfinished business to be done. It is that fighting spirit that enshrined the legacy of this gentle warrior of the civil rights movement. In Atlanta, Jonathan Siri, Fox News.
The White House and other federal buildings are now flying flags at half-staff. President Donald Trump issued a proclamation allowing the flags to be flown at half-staff for today. The order states the proclamation is a mark of respect for the memory and long-standing public service of Representative John Lewis of Georgia. This afternoon, President Trump tweeted he's saddened to hear the news of civil rights hero John Lewis passing. He also sent prayers to the Lewis family.